Hello there, and welcome to the Sleep Well channel. I'm so glad you found your way here. Tonight, we aren't walking through a dusty museum or turning the brittle pages of a familiar history book. Instead, we're drifting through the quiet, pivotal moments when a single discovery changed everything we thought we knew about ourselves. We'll travel back in time, not to the age of kings and empires, but to the deep, silent epics before written words, to a past that was once lost to myth and shadow. There is nothing you need to do now but rest. Let the day's concerns soften at the edges and allow your thoughts to settle like dust on ancient stone. Because tonight, our journey is one of quiet revelation, of finding the first footprints of humanity and realizing the story is far stranger and more beautiful than we ever imagined. If these calm explorations help you unwind, feel free to like and subscribe. It helps other sleepy souls find their way to this quiet corner of the world. Now, let yourself get comfortable and let's begin. For a long time, we told ourselves a simple story. First came farming, then came cities, and only then, with full bellies and settled lives, did our ancestors build temples and dream of gods. But in the rolling hills of modern-day Turkey, a discovery lay sleeping beneath the earth, waiting to rewrite that first chapter. It is called Göbekli Tepe. It is a dream of stone pillars carved with elegant figures of animals and symbols arranged in perfect circles. And it is over 11,000 years old, built not by farmers, but by hunter-gatherers. This was a cathedral built before the first city, a sacred place created by people who followed the seasons and the herds. It showed us that the hunger for meaning, for connection to the cosmos, might be older than the first loaf of bread. The need to build something for the heavens came long before we built permanent homes on the earth. And just as stone can rewrite the story of society, a single skeleton can rewrite the story of our own bodies. In the dry plains of Ethiopia, scientists uncovered the scattered bones of an ancestor who lived more than 3 million years ago. They named her Lucy. She was small, and her brain was no larger than a chimpanzee's, but the curve of her spine, the shape of her pelvis, and the angle of her knee told a revolutionary story. She walked upright. For decades, we believed that our large brains were what made us human, that our intelligence lifted us onto 2 feet. But Lucy showed us that we learned to walk long before we learned to think in the ways we do now. Our feet found their path across the ancient savannas long before our minds grew large enough to wonder where they were going. It was a discovery that reordered our own evolution, placing the journey of the body before the journey of the mind. Deep in a hidden cave in southern France, another story was waiting in the dark, sealed away from the world for 20,000 years. When explorers finally entered the Chauvet cave, they found not crude sketches, but a silent symphony of animals flowing across the walls. Lions, rhinos, and horses drawn with shading perspective and a sense of motion that felt astonishingly modern. These were not the simple outlines we once imagined for our ancestors. They were masterworks created by artists who understood form and shadow flickering to life under the unsteady glow of torchlight. The discovery of Chauvet pushed back the timeline of human creativity, proving that the artistic impulse, the need to capture the beauty and terror of the world, is not a recent luxury. It is an ancient part of who we are. It was proof that the human mind has been dreaming in color and shadow for tens of thousands of years. For a long time, we saw ourselves as separate, the sole survivors on the human family tree, having replaced our stockier cousins, the Neanderthals. But a discovery hidden not in stone or earth, but in our own blood, told a different story. As scientists learned to read ancient DNA, they found echoes of Neanderthals woven into the genome of modern humans. It was the faint but unmistakable signature of ancient encounters of families blending in the distant past. We had not simply replaced them, we had joined with them. Their legacy is not just in fossils, but within us, a ghost in our own machine. That quiet part of you that feels a connection to the cold, the forest, the deep stillness may be a whisper from a time when our families were not yet one, but two, sharing a world of ice and stars. And sometimes the most profound discoveries are not bones at all, but the spaces between them. In the soft, volcanic ash of a long-ago eruption in Tanzania, a trail of footprints was preserved, captured in stone as the ash hardened. The Latoli footprints, over 3.5 million years old, show 2 or perhaps 3 of our ancestors walking side by side. The gait is unmistakably human, a heel-to-toe stride that tells a story of balance and forward motion. It is one of the oldest and most human moments ever found. A fleeting walk on a long-ago afternoon captured by chance. It is not a story of kings or wars, but of a family walking together, leaving behind not a monument, but a path. These first discoveries are like finding the opening lines to a story we thought we knew, only to realize the plot is deeper and more mysterious. But the story doesn't end in the dust of prehistory. It moves forward into the age of words, of kingdoms, and of laws written not just in stone, but for all to see. For now, just rest in this quiet space, in the knowledge that our history is not a closed book, but a landscape still being uncovered, one gentle discovery at a time. The first footprints harden into stone, and the first paintings fade into the quiet dark of caves. But the story does not end there. It shifts, turning from the language of bodies and pigments to the language of symbols. For millennia, our history was a story told without words, a vast and silent epic carried in bones and tools. But in the Fertile Crescent of the Middle East, along the banks of rivers in Egypt and Mesopotamia, a new kind of memory began to take shape, etched into clay and carved into stone. It was the dawn of writing, the moment our ancestors learned not just to live history, but to record it. And for thousands of years, many of these first words fell silent once more. Their meanings lost their messages locked away until a few quiet discoveries provided the keys, allowing us to hear the voices of the ancient world again. These discoveries were not of gold or jewels, but of something far more precious: understanding. They allowed us to cross the threshold from a past we could only guess at to a past we could finally read. For nearly 2,000 years, the hieroglyphs of ancient Egypt were a beautiful mystery. They covered temple walls and soared on obelisks intricate pictures of birds, reeds, and watchful eyes. Scholars and adventurers saw them, copied them, and wondered. They knew these symbols held the story of a civilization that had mastered engineering, astronomy, and the art of immortality. But the language itself was a closed book. It was as if a great library had been locked and the key thrown away. Some thought the symbols were magic, Others believed they were simple pictures, but no one could hear the words they once represented. The voice of the pharaohs, the priests, and the poets had vanished into silence. Then, in the midst of a chaotic war, a French soldier in a small Egyptian town called Rosetta found a broken slab of dark stone. It was not beautiful, not a treasure of gold, but it held 3 scripts, each telling the same story. One was in the mysterious hieroglyphs, another was in a simpler Egyptian script, and the last was in Greek, a language the modern world could still read. The Rosetta Stone was not an instant key, but a promise. It took another 2 decades of patient obsessive work by scholars, most notably Jean-François Champollion, to finally crack the code. He realized the hieroglyphs were not just pictures, but a complex blend of symbols representing sounds, ideas, and objects. It was a true language, rich and nuanced. The moment of its deciphering was not a loud explosion of discovery, but a quiet click as a door that had been sealed for centuries finally swung open. Suddenly, the carvings on temple walls were no longer just decoration. They were histories, poems, prayers, and records of daily life. We could read the names of kings and queens, understand their laws, and hear their boasts and laments. The discovery of the Rosetta Stone did more than teach us a language. It gave an entire civilization its voice back. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest treasures are not hidden in tombs, but in the quiet work of translation, in the patient act of listening to the whispers of a world long gone. But not every lost civilization left us such a convenient key. Along the banks of the Indus River in what is now Pakistan and India, another great society flourished more than 4,000 years ago. The people of the Indus Valley built some of the world's first planned cities, like Mohenjo-Daro, with grid-like streets, advanced sanitation systems, and massive public structures. They had a system of weights and measures, a sophisticated trade network, and a unique form of writing etched into small stone seals. But here, the story is different. We have found their cities, walked their streets, and admired their craftsmanship, but we cannot read their words. Their script remains one of the great, undeciphered languages of the ancient world. The discovery of this civilization in the 920s was a revelation. It pushed back the origins of urban life in South Asia by thousands of years and revealed a society as complex as those in Egypt and Mesopotamia. Yet its silence is profound. The seals show images of animals, gods, and strange rituals, but the symbols that accompany them are a mystery. Are they names? Are they prayers? Are they records of trade? We do not know. The discovery of the Indus Valley civilization rewrote our history by adding a vast and sophisticated chapter. But it is a chapter whose words are still missing. It is a quiet invitation, a reminder that the past has not given up all its secrets, and that some voices are still waiting patiently for a translator who has not yet been born. In the Aegean Sea, the world of Homer's epics, the Trojan War, the wanderings of Odysseus was long thought to be pure myth, a grand story told by poets. But on the island of Crete and the Greek mainland, archaeologists began to unearth the palaces of a forgotten civilization, the Mycenaeans. They found fortified citadels, golden death masks, and something even more extraordinary, clay tablets baked hard by the fires that had destroyed the palaces. These tablets were covered in a strange linear script called Linear B. For years, It too was a mystery. Then, in a moment of brilliant insight, a young architect named Michael Ventris, who had been fascinated with the script since he was a boy, realized it was not a strange, unknown tongue, but a very early form of Greek. The code was broken, but the tablets did not contain epic poems or stories of gods. They were bureaucratic records, lists of olive oil jars, counts of chariot wheels, rosters of palace workers. It was the quiet, mundane heartbeat of an empire. This discovery was profound. It proved that the world Homer described was not just a poet's dream, but a distant memory of a real Bronze Age civilization. The myths had roots in history. The deciphering of Linear B gave a voice not to kings and heroes, but to the scribes and quartermasters, the nameless people who kept a kingdom running. It showed us that behind every great legend, there is a world of ordinary life, of records kept, and accounts balanced a quiet foundation of order beneath the soaring stories of gods and heroes. Sometimes, the past is not found in a grand palace, but in a quiet, lonely cave. In the desert cliffs overlooking the Dead Sea, a young Bedouin shepherd searching for a lost goat tossed a stone into a dark opening. He heard the sound of shattering pottery. Inside, he found clay jars sealed for 2,000 years, containing the most important religious discovery of the 20th century, the Dead Sea Scrolls. These were ancient manuscripts, fragile scrolls of papyrus and leather hidden away by a Jewish sect around the time of Jesus. They contain the oldest known copies of the Hebrew Bible, along with other religious texts that had been lost to history for millennia. The discovery was staggering. It provided a window into the world of early Judaism and Christianity, a time of intense spiritual ferment. The scrolls were preserved by the dry desert air, a library that had survived empire's wars and the slow march of time. Their unearthing reminds us how fragile knowledge can be and how miraculous its survival. A chance throw of a stone, a curious shepherd, and a quiet cave gave back to the world a piece of its spiritual memory that had been thought gone forever. It's a lesson that history is not only rewritten by grand theories, but sometimes by a single lucky find in the loneliest of places. And as writing gave voice to prayers and histories, it also gave form to law, to the very idea of a society bound by shared rules. In the early 20th century, archaeologists in modern-day Iran uncovered a tall, dark stone stele. At its top was a carving of the Babylonian king Hammurabi receiving the laws from the sun god. Below it, inscribed in elegant cuneiform script, was one of the oldest and most complete legal codes ever discovered. The Code of Hammurabi, nearly 4,000 years old, was not just a list of harsh punishments. It was a vision of a society where justice, however brutal by modern standards, was meant to be applied to all. It covered everything from property rights and trade to family law and professional conduct. Its discovery showed that the concept of a state governed by written law, the idea that power should be bound by rules, was not a modern invention, but an ancient dream. The stele was meant to be placed in a public square for all to see. It was a declaration that justice was no longer a secret held by kings, but a covenant between the gods, the ruler, and the people. It rewrote our understanding of the origins of law, showing that the quest for a just and orderly society is one of the oldest human endeavors carved into stone at the very dawn of civilization. These first words, these recovered voices, are the threads that connect us to a past that is no longer silent. They are the beginnings of a conversation that continues to this day, a conversation that allows us to understand not just what our ancestors did, but what they thought, what they feared, and what they believed. And as we drift from the world of words to the world of stone and soil, we carry these voices with us, ready to explore the lost cities and buried empires where these stories once lived and breathed. As the silent languages of the past began to speak, they told stories of places, of cities and empires that had long since faded from memory or lingered only as myths. The history we knew was a history of victors, of civilizations that had left behind enduring monuments. But beneath the earth, under layers of soil and time, other stories were sleeping. Stories of cities swallowed by volcanoes, of citadels reclaimed by the jungle, of entire empires that had vanished so completely they were thought to be a poet's dream. The discoveries of these lost places did more than add new names to our maps. They reshaped our sense of time and permanence. They showed us that even the mightiest civilizations could disappear, and that history was not a steady line of progress, but a landscape of ruins and rebirth, of forgotten worlds, waiting patiently for a curious hand to brush away the dust and let them see the sun once more. For centuries, the city of Troy was just a name in a poem. It was the stage for Homer's Iliad, a place of heroes and gods of a 10-year war fought over a beautiful queen. Most scholars believed it was a myth, a grand fiction from the dawn of Western literature. But a German businessman, an amateur archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann, was obsessed with the idea that Troy was real. He believed Homer's words were not just a story, but a map. In the 1870s, he began digging at a dusty hill in modern-day Turkey, a place that local tradition had long associated with the ancient city. He dug recklessly, driven by passion more than science, but what he found changed history. He uncovered not one city, but layers of cities built one on top of the other over thousands of years. He found walls, gates, and treasures he believed belonged to King Priam. While his methods were destructive and many of his conclusions were wrong, Schliemann had proven something extraordinary. Troy was real. The discovery blurred the line between myth and history, suggesting that the great legends of the ancient world were not just fantasies but echoes of a real forgotten past. It taught us that sometimes the most enduring stories are memories wrapped in poetry, waiting for someone to believe in them enough to start digging. Some lost cities were not buried by time, but by a single catastrophic moment. In southern Italy, the Roman city of Pompeii thrived at the foot of a gentle, green mountain. It was a bustling resort town filled with villas, shops, and theaters. But the mountain was not a mountain. It was a volcano, Vesuvius. In the year 79 AD, it erupted with unimaginable fury, burying Pompeii in the nearby town of Herculaneum under a thick blanket of ash and pumice. The city was not destroyed, but frozen in time. For 1,700 years, it lay silent and perfectly preserved. When it was rediscovered in the 18th century, it offered a window into Roman life unlike any other. Archaeologists found loaves of bread still in ovens, political graffiti on walls, and rooms painted with vibrant frescoes. Most haunting of all, they found voids in the hardened ash left by the bodies of those who had perished. By carefully pouring plaster into these cavities, They created casts of the final moments of Pompeii's citizens, a mother shielding her child, a man curled in despair, a dog chained to its post. The discovery of Pompeii rewrote our understanding of everyday Roman life, not through the histories of emperors, but through the quiet, ordinary moments of a city on its last day. It is a place where time stopped, a silent testament to the fragility of life in the shadow of nature's power. Other cities were lost not to disaster, but to the quiet embrace of nature. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru, the Inca built a citadel of polished stone so remote it seemed to touch the clouds. Machu Picchu was a masterpiece of engineering, its terraces and temples clinging to a mountain ridge, its stones perfectly fitted without a drop of mortar. It was likely a royal estate, a sacred place for an emperor built in the 15th century. But within 100 years, it was abandoned, perhaps due to the Spanish conquest that ravaged the Inca Empire from below. The Spanish never found it. For centuries, it remained hidden, known only to a few local farmers. The jungle crept back, covering its plazas and stairways in a soft green blanket. It was not until 1911 that an American explorer, Hiram Bingham, was led to the site. The rediscovery of Machu Picchu revealed the breathtaking skill of Inca architects and astronomers. It was a city built in harmony with the mountains, a place of spiritual power and impossible beauty. Its loss was not a violent one, but a slow, quiet, fading, a retreat into the mists of the high Andes. It reminds us that sometimes the greatest empires can vanish, not with a bang, but with a whisper, leaving behind only silent stones to tell their story. In the dense jungles of Cambodia, another great city was swallowed by nature. The temple complex of Angkor Wat and the surrounding city of Angkor Thom were the heart of the mighty Khmer Empire, which flourished from the 9th to the 15th centuries. At its peak, Angkor was the largest pre-industrial city in the world, a sprawling metropolis of canals, reservoirs, and stone temples of staggering complexity. But as the empire declined, the city was slowly abandoned and the jungle returned. Giant silk cotton and strangler fig trees grew over the temples, their roots wrapping around stone faces, prying apart walls, and creating a scene of breathtaking decay and resilience. For centuries, Angkor was a lost world, a ruin whispered about in legends. When it was reintroduced to the outside world by French explorers in the 19th century, it seemed like a fantasy. The discovery of Angkor revealed the scale and sophistication of a civilization that had been largely forgotten by the rest of the world. It is a place where human creation and the power of nature are locked in a slow, silent dance. The stone faces of gods and kings stare out from a tangle of roots, a quiet reminder that what is built can be reclaimed, and that history is not just a story of human ambition, but also of the patient, persistent growth of the forest. And sometimes the most stunning discoveries are not of cities for the living, but of armies for the dead. In 1974, a group of farmers digging a well in central China struck something hard. It was the head of a clay soldier. What they had stumbled upon was one of the most astonishing archaeological finds in history: the Terracotta Army. This was a vast subterranean army of thousands of life-sized clay soldiers, horses and chariots buried to guard the tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, who died in 210 BC. Each soldier was created with incredible detail, and more remarkably, each face was unique. They were not mass-produced figures, but individual portraits of the warriors in the emperor's army. The army was laid out in battle formation in enormous pits, a silent, eternal guard for an emperor who sought to conquer even the afterlife. The discovery of the terracotta army opened a window into the mind of this powerful and ruthless ruler, and the incredible artistry of the Qin dynasty. It was an empire for the dead, hidden beneath farmland for over 2,000 years. Its unearthing showed us that some of the greatest monuments are not those that reach for the sky, but those that lie in wait in the silent, patient darkness of the earth. These lost worlds, rediscovered by chance or by obsession, remind us that our map of the past is always incomplete. They are the quiet places where history took a different turn, where civilizations rose and fell, leaving behind echoes that can still be heard if we listen closely enough. Our journey through history has so far been one of visible things, of bone stones and buried cities. But some of the discoveries that most profoundly rewrote our story happened on a scale too small to see. For millennia, humanity was at the mercy of forces it could not comprehend. Plagues swept through cities, wounds festered without reason, and the traits of parents passed to children through some mysterious, invisible inheritance. We lived in a world where life and death were governed by unseen rules. The great shift in our understanding came when we learned to look closer, to peer into a hidden reality, teeming in a drop of water, or coiled inside the nucleus of a single cell. These discoveries gave us power over disease and a new humbling understanding of what it means to be alive. They revealed that we are not singular beings, but ecosystems, and that our very identities are written in a code that connects us to every living thing on Earth. This part of our journey takes us into that invisible world, to the moments we first glimpse the tiny architects of life and death. For most of human history, illness was a mystery attributed to bad air, divine punishment, or an imbalance of humors. A surgeon might wash his hands, or he might not. No one saw a connection between cleanliness and survival. But in the 9th century, a few quiet pioneers began to suspect that the world was full of invisible life. Louis Pasteur, while studying the fermentation of wine and beer, realized that microscopic organisms, yeasts, and bacteria were responsible. This led him to a revolutionary idea. If microbes could spoil wine, perhaps they could also cause disease in humans. At the same time, Robert Koch was meticulously identifying the specific bacteria responsible for diseases like anthrax and tuberculosis. This was the birth of germ theory. It was a radical shift in consciousness. Suddenly, the enemy was not a spirit or a miasma, but a living thing, a microbe that could be studied, understood, and fought. The simple acts of washing hands, sterilizing instruments, and pasteurizing milk, all born from this discovery, saved more lives than any battle ever won. Germ theory rewrote our relationship with the world, showing us that we are surrounded by an invisible ecosystem, a constant silent struggle between our bodies and organisms, 1,000,000 times smaller than ourselves. It taught us that power lies not in magic, but in seeing the unseen. And as we began to understand the agents of disease, another even deeper mystery remained: the secret of life itself. How are traits passed down from one generation to the next? Why do children resemble their parents? For centuries, the answer was a blur of vague ideas about blending and bloodlines. In a quiet monastery garden in the 19th century, a monk named Gregor Mendel spent his days crossbreeding pea plants. He carefully tracked traits like height, color, and seed shape, and in doing so, he discovered the fundamental laws of heredity. He realized that traits were not blended, but passed down in discrete units, which we now call genes. He saw patterns of dominance and recessiveness, a hidden mathematics of inheritance. But his work, published in an obscure journal, was almost completely ignored for decades. It was too far ahead of its time. When it was rediscovered at the turn of the 20th century, it became the foundation of modern genetics. Mendel had, without ever seeing a gene, figured out the rules of the game. His discovery showed that the beautiful diversity of life was not random, but governed by a quiet, elegant code. It was the first step toward reading the book of life itself. The question, of course, was, what was this code made of? What physical substance hidden inside our cells carried the blueprint for an entire organism? Scientists knew it resided in the chromosomes, but its structure was a puzzle. In the 1950s at Cambridge University, a race was on to solve it. A young American biologist, James Watson, and an English physicist, Francis Crick, were working on the problem using data from other scientists, including the brilliant X-ray crystallography images taken by Rosalind Franklin. Her images were the crucial clue, suggesting a helical shape. In a flash of insight, Watson and Crick built a model, a simple, elegant structure that explained everything: the double helix. It was two intertwined strands, a spiral staircase of molecules, and in the sequence of its four chemical letters, A, T, C, and G, it carried the code for all of life. The discovery of the double helix was one of the most important scientific moments in history. It was like finding the alphabet of creation. It showed how life could copy itself, how it could change, and how it could carry billions of years of evolutionary history in a single microscopic thread. It rewrote our understanding of who we are, showing us that we are, in the most literal sense, made of information. The discovery of DNA's structure opened the floodgates. If we could read the code, could we also write it? The development of genetic engineering in the 1970s marked the moment we learned to do just that. Scientists discovered enzymes that could act like molecular scissors, allowing them to cut and paste genes from one organism to another. Suddenly, we could insert a human gene into a bacterium and command it to produce insulin. We could modify crops to resist pests or drought. This ability to manipulate the code of life was both thrilling and terrifying. It promised to cure genetic diseases and feed a hungry world, but it also raised profound ethical questions. The discovery of recombinant DNA technology transformed medicine and agriculture, but more than that, it transformed our relationship with nature. We were no longer just observers of life's code. We had become its editors. The power that evolution had wielded over eons was now, in a small but significant way, in our hands. It was a quiet revolution that took place in laboratories on petri dishes, but its consequences have reshaped our world. But the book of life contains more than just our own genes. In the late 20th century, a radical new idea emerged. Biologist Lynn Margulis proposed that some of the most fundamental parts of our own cells were once separate, free-living organisms. She argued that mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses that generate energy in our cells, were once bacteria that were long ago engulfed by another cell in a symbiotic partnership. The same was true for chloroplasts, the engines of photosynthesis in plant cells. This theory, called endosymbiosis, was initially met with skepticism, but the evidence was overwhelming. Mitochondria and chloroplasts have their own DNA, separate from the cell's nucleus, and it strongly resembles bacterial DNA. They reproduce on their own, dividing like bacteria. The theory is now a cornerstone of modern biology. It means that we and all complex life are chimeras. We are communities of ancient organisms living together in a partnership that began more than 1 billion years ago. It rewrote our understanding of evolution, showing that it is driven not just by competition, but by radical acts of cooperation of ancient beings learning to live inside one another, becoming something new together. You are not a single self. You are a walking, breathing ecosystem, a testament to a pact made in the dawn of life. And the world of the small held one more surprise, a form of life so strange it didn't fit into any category. In the late 20th century, scientists identified prions, a type of misfolded protein that could cause fatal neurodegenerative diseases like mad cow disease in cattle and Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease in humans. Unlike bacteria or viruses, prions contain no genetic material, no DNA or RNA. They are simply proteins that have adopted the wrong shape, and yet they are infectious. A single misfolded prion can trigger a chain reaction causing healthy proteins to misfold in the same way, leading to a slow, inevitable destruction of the brain. The discovery of prions was profoundly unsettling. It defied the central dogma of biology, which held that all infectious agents must have genetic material to replicate. Prions showed that information, in this case, the information of a shape, could be infectious on its own. They are a form of life on the very edge of what it means to be alive, a zombie protein that corrupts everything it touches. The discovery rewrote our definition of disease and infection, revealing a new and terrifying mechanism of pathology, a quiet patient agent of chaos working at the molecular level. These glimpses into the microscopic world have given us a new history, one not of kings and battles, but of codes, microbes, and ancient partnerships. They have shown us that the most powerful forces are often the ones we cannot see, and that the greatest stories are sometimes written in the smallest of letters. For thousands of years, the story of the cosmos was the story of us. The Earth was still solid and at the center of everything. The sun, the moon, the planets, and the stars all moved around us in perfect, crystalline spheres. It was a beautiful, comforting model, one that placed humanity at the very heart of creation. Every sunrise and sunset, every wandering planet, every star-filled night seemed to confirm it. This was not just a scientific theory. It was a truth woven into philosophy, religion, and the very fabric of how we saw our place in the universe. But in the quiet studies of a few courageous thinkers, a new story was beginning to take shape. A story that would move the Earth, and in doing so, move all of humanity from the center to the margins. This was a discovery that didn't just rewrite our history books, it rewrote our sky, our sense of self, and our relationship with the infinite. The revolution began not with a bang, but with a book published as its author lay on his deathbed. Nicholas Copernicus, a Polish astronomer and cleric, had spent decades meticulously observing the heavens and performing mathematical calculations. He was troubled by the complexity of the Earth-centered or geocentric model. To explain the strange retrograde motions of planets like Mars, which appeared to move backward in the sky, astronomers had to invent elaborate systems of circles within circles called epicycles. It was complicated and messy. Copernicus had a simpler, more elegant idea. What if the sun was at the center and the Earth was just another planet orbiting it like the others? This heliocentric model explained the backward motion of Mars beautifully. It was simply an illusion caused by the faster-moving Earth overtaking Mars in its orbit. For years, Copernicus hesitated to publish his work, fearing the ridicule of his peers and the condemnation of the Church. But in 1543, his book, On the Revolutions of the Heavenly Spheres, was finally printed. At first, it caused barely a ripple, but it had planted a seed, a quiet radical idea that would slowly dismantle a worldview that had stood for millennia. It was the gentle beginning of a cosmic demotion. The idea might have remained a mathematical curiosity if it weren't for the invention of a new tool and the unyielding curiosity of an Italian astronomer. In the early 1600s, Galileo Galilei heard of a Dutch invention, a spyglass, that made distant objects appear closer. He built his own far more powerful and turned it to the night sky. What he saw shattered the old world. He saw that the moon was not a perfect smooth sphere, but a world covered in mountains and craters just like Earth. He saw that the Milky Way was not a celestial cloud, but was composed of countless individual stars. Most devastatingly, he discovered 4 tiny stars circling the planet Jupiter. These were moons, and they were not orbiting the Earth. They were orbiting Jupiter. This was a direct, visible contradiction to the geocentric model. If everything did not orbit the Earth, then the Earth was not the center of everything. Galileo published his findings in a small book called The Starry Messenger, which caused an immediate sensation. He became a champion of the Copernican system, not as a mathematical trick, but as a physical reality. His discoveries brought him fame, but also the wrath of the Church. He was eventually tried for heresy and forced to recant, spending the last years of his life under house arrest. But the truth he had uncovered could not be unseen. The telescope had opened a window onto a new universe, and the old one could never be put back together again. Galileo's work was continued and given a mathematical foundation by a German astronomer named Johannes Kepler. Kepler was a mystic, a man who believed the universe was governed by divine harmonies. He spent years trying to fit the orbits of the planets into perfect geometric shapes. But the data, meticulously collected by his mentor, Tycho Brahe, simply wouldn't fit. The orbit of Mars was particularly stubborn. After years of frustrating calculations, Kepler made a courageous leap. He abandoned the ancient belief in perfect circles. He discovered that the planets do not move in circles, but in ellipses or stretched circles with the sun at one focus. This was his first law of planetary motion. He went on to formulate 2 more laws describing how a planet's speed changes as it orbits and how its orbital period is related to its distance from the Sun. Kepler's laws were a revelation. They replaced the clumsy epicycles of the old system with a simple, elegant, and astonishingly accurate mathematical description of the solar system. He had found the harmony he was looking for, not in perfect shapes, but in the beautiful logic of elliptical motion. His work transformed astronomy from a descriptive science into a predictive one, a true physics of the heavens. He had uncovered the quiet mathematical song that the planets danced to. And then came the man who explained not just how the planets moved, but why. Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientific minds in history, built upon the work of Copernicus, Galileo, and Kepler. He wondered if an apple falls from a tree to the ground, could the same force that pulls the apple also reach out to the moon, holding it in its orbit? This was the seed of his theory of universal gravitation. In his monumental work, De Principia Mathematica, published in 1687, Newton laid out his laws of motion and his law of universal gravitation. He showed that every object in the universe attracts every other object with a force that depends on their mass and the distance between them. It was a single, elegant law that explained both the falling apple and the orbiting planets. It united the heavens and the earth under one set of physical rules. The old distinction between the imperfect, corruptible earthly realm and the perfect, unchanging celestial realm was gone forever. Newton had provided the physical mechanism for the Copernican universe. He had given gravity its voice, and it was a voice that spoke the same language on Earth as it did in the farthest reaches of the solar system. The discovery of the heliocentric universe and the laws that govern it was more than a scientific revolution. It was a psychological one. It was the moment humanity was gently removed from the center of the story. We were no longer the privileged observers for whom the cosmos was made. We were inhabitants of a small planet, one among many drifting through an immense and indifferent universe. This realization was unsettling, but it was also liberating. It opened the door to a new kind of wonder, a wonder based not on our own importance, but on the vastness and elegance of the cosmos itself. It taught us that our senses can be deceiving, and that the deepest truths often lie hidden in mathematics and careful observation. It was a lesson in cosmic humility. We learned that to truly understand our place in the universe, we first had to accept that the universe did not revolve around us. And in letting go of the center, we opened ourselves up to the infinite. This shift in perspective, this quiet cosmic reordering echoes to this day, reminding us that every time we look up at the night sky, we are looking out from a small, spinning world on a journey through a universe far grander than our ancestors ever dared to imagine. As our gaze shifted from the heavens back to the earth beneath our feet, a new and equally profound revolution in understanding was quietly taking shape. For centuries, the world we walked on felt solid, permanent, and ancient in a way we couldn't quite grasp. Mountains, oceans, and continents seemed to be fixed features created in some distant, unknowable past. The Bible suggested a world only a few thousand years old. The story of our planet was a short one, but in the quiet study of rocks, fossils, and the shape of the land itself, a new story began to emerge. A story of a planet not static, but alive. A world of immense age and constant slow motion. This was the discovery of deep time and the restless engine of plate tectonics that drives our world. It was a realization that the ground beneath us is not solid ground at all, but a collection of enormous drifting rafts, and that the history of our planet is written not in thousands of years, but in billions. The first hint of this new story came from looking at a map. In the early 20th century, a German meteorologist named Alfred Wegener was struck by something school children had noticed for centuries. The continents looked like pieces of a puzzle. The eastern coastline of South America seemed to fit perfectly into the western coastline of Africa. He found other clues as well. Fossils of the same ancient plants and animals were found on continents now separated by vast oceans. Rock formations in Brazil matched those in West Africa. Wegener proposed a radical idea. The continents were not fixed. They had once been joined together in a single supercontinent, which he called Pangaea, and had since drifted apart. He called his theory continental drift. But there was a problem. He couldn't explain how they moved. The scientific establishment ridiculed his idea. What force could possibly be strong enough to move entire continents? For decades, Wegener's theory was dismissed as a fanciful dream. He had seen the truth, but he couldn't yet prove it. The proof came from an unexpected place, the bottom of the ocean. In the 1950s and 60s, during the Cold War, scientists began mapping the ocean floor in detail for the first time using sonar and magnetometers. They discovered something astonishing. Running down the middle of the Atlantic Ocean was a massive underwater mountain range, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. And stranger still, they found that the ocean floor was spreading apart from this ridge. Molten rock, or magma, was rising from the Earth's mantle, creating new crust and pushing the older crust away on either side. This was the engine Wegener had been missing. It was called seafloor spreading. Further evidence came from the magnetic patterns in the ocean crust. As the new rock cooled, it recorded the direction of the Earth's magnetic field at that time. Scientists found that the magnetic field has flipped its polarity many times throughout history, and on the ocean floor, they saw a perfect, symmetrical pattern of magnetic stripes on either side of the ridge, a tape recording of Earth's magnetic history. The continents were not just drifting. They were being carried on conveyor belts of new ocean crust. These discoveries led to the unifying theory of plate tectonics. The Earth's outer shell, the lithosphere, is not a single piece, but is broken into a mosaic of giant rigid plates. These plates are floating on the hot semi-fluid layer of the mantle below, and they are in constant motion, moving at about the same speed your fingernails grow. Where plates pull apart, as at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, new crust is formed. Where they collide, one plate can be forced beneath another in a process called subduction, creating deep ocean trenches and volcanic arcs. Or, the colliding plates can crumple and buckle, pushing up massive mountain ranges like the Himalayas. Where plates slide past each other, like at the San Andreas Fault in California, they create earthquakes. The theory of plate tectonics was a revolution. It explained everything from the location of volcanoes and earthquakes to the distribution of fossils and the shape of the continents. It gave us a new picture of the Earth not as a solid static ball, but as a dynamic, living planet. Its surface constantly being created, destroyed, and reshaped. The discovery of this slow, relentless motion was intertwined with another equally profound realization. The Earth was incredibly, unimaginably old. The clues lay in the rocks themselves. In the late 18th century, a Scottish geologist named James Hutton, known as the father of modern geology, observed the processes of erosion and sedimentation. He saw how wind and water wore down mountains and how the resulting sand and mud were deposited in layers that hardened into rock. He realized that these processes were incredibly slow. For the vast layers of rock he saw in the Scottish landscape to have formed the earth must be not thousands, but millions of years old. He famously wrote of this immense timescale, "We find no vestige of a beginning, no prospect of an end." This idea, called uniformitarianism, the idea that the same slow processes we see today have been shaping the earth for eons, was a radical departure from the prevailing view of a young earth shaped by sudden catastrophes. It introduced the world to the concept of deep time. The true scale of deep time was revealed in the 20th century with the discovery of radioactivity. Scientists like Marie Curie had shown that certain elements decay at a steady, predictable rate. This provided a clock, a way to measure the age of rocks with incredible accuracy. By measuring the ratio of radioactive elements to their decay products in ancient rocks and meteorites, geologists could finally put a number on the age of the Earth. The answer was staggering 4.5 billion years. This discovery stretched our sense of history into a new dimension. Human existence, which felt so long and important, was reduced to a fleeting moment in the final second of a very long day. The discovery of deep time gave context to everything else, to the slow drift of continents, to the gradual rise of mountains, and to the patient meandering story of evolution. It gave us a new kind of history, a history written not in human records, but in the radioactive decay of atoms, a clock that had been ticking quietly in the heart of the stone since the birth of our world. Together, plate tectonics and deep time rewrote our planet's autobiography. They showed us that the world is a work in progress, a masterpiece of slow creation. The mountains that seem so eternal are just temporary wrinkles in the crust. The oceans that seem so vast are just ephemeral pools that open and close over eons. We live on a planet of quiet, relentless change. The ground beneath us is not a foundation, but a journey. And in understanding this, we find our place not in a static world, but in a grand unfolding story. A story of movement and transformation, as old as the rocks and as constant as time itself. Long before the slow drift of continents became a known truth, the rocks of our planet held another secret, a story of a world so different from our own, it could have been another planet. It was a world ruled by giants, a time when colossal creatures walked the earth, their footsteps shaking the ground, their shadows falling over primeval forests. This was the age of dinosaurs. For most of human history, their existence was completely unknown. Their bones turned to stone lay silent and unrecognized in the earth, mistaken for the remains of mythical giants or dragons. The discovery that these bones belonged to a real lost world of reptiles was a profound shock to our sense of history. It revealed that our own time, the age of mammals, was just one chapter in a much longer, stranger story, and that even the most dominant forms of life could vanish in a geological instant. The story of their discovery begins in the early 19th century in England, a time of intense scientific curiosity. amateur fossil hunters and gentleman scientists began finding enormous bones and teeth in quarries and cliffs. At first, no one knew what to make of them. They were too large to belong to any known animal. A doctor named Gideon Mantell and his wife, Mary Ann, found teeth that resembled those of an iguana, but were many times larger. They named the creature Iguanodon. Around the same time, another scientist described a massive jawbone and named the creature Megalosaurus, or Great Lizard. In 1842, the brilliant anatomist Richard Owen, realizing these and other finds, represented a whole new group of animals, coined a new name for them: Dinosauria, meaning terrible lizard. The idea of a lost world of giant reptiles captured the public imagination. It was a revelation. History was not just human history. There had been other worlds before ours, other rulers of the planet. The discovery of dinosaurs was the discovery of a prehistoric past, a deep time filled not just with slow geological change, but with incredible, fantastic life. For the next century and a half, the story of the dinosaurs was one of gradual decline. The prevailing theory was that they had slowly faded away due to climate change competition from mammals or some other long drawn-out process. They were seen as evolutionary failures, slow, stupid, and ill-equipped to adapt. Then, in 1980, a team of scientists led by the physicist Luis Alvarez and his geologist son Walter proposed a theory that was as dramatic and catastrophic as the dinosaurs themselves. They were studying a thin layer of clay in the geological record that marked the boundary between the Cretaceous period, the end of the dinosaurs, and the Paleogene period, the rise of mammals. This layer, known as the KPG boundary, is found all over the world, and in it they discovered something extraordinary, a concentration of the element iridium that was hundreds of times higher than normal. Iridium is rare on Earth's surface, but it is abundant in asteroids and comets. The Alvarezes proposed a stunning hypothesis 66 million years ago. A massive asteroid some 10 kilometers wide had slammed into the Earth. The impact would have been more powerful than all the nuclear weapons in the world combined. It would have sent a colossal plume of dust, rock, and iridium into the atmosphere, shrouding the planet in darkness for months or even years. The darkness would have halted photosynthesis, causing plants to die and ecosystems to collapse. The dinosaurs, along with more than 75% of all species on Earth, were wiped out in a geological instant. This was the discovery of the impact theory. At first, it was met with intense skepticism from many paleontologists who favored a more gradual explanation. It seemed too sudden, too simple. But the evidence began to mount. Geologists found shocked quartz and tiny glass spheres called tektites in the boundary layer, sure signs of a massive impact. The final conclusive piece of the puzzle was the discovery of the crater itself, the smoking gun. After a long search, scientists identified a massive impact crater over 180 kilometers wide, buried beneath the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It was named the Chicxulub crater. Its age matched the KPG boundary perfectly. The crater, along with the global iridium layer, provided overwhelming evidence that the impact theory was correct. The dinosaurs had not faded away. They had been annihilated by a catastrophe from space. The discovery of the Chicxulub crater and the confirmation of the impact theory fundamentally rewrote our understanding of Earth's history. It showed that evolution is not always a slow, gradual process. It can be punctuated by sudden catastrophic events. Life on Earth is fragile, vulnerable to cosmic accidents. The fall of the dinosaurs was not a failure of their biology. It was a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. This discovery also rewrote our own story. The extinction of the dinosaurs was the great opportunity for our ancestors, the small, shrew-like mammals that had been living in the dinosaurs' shadows for millions of years. With the giants gone, the mammals diversified and grew, eventually giving rise to primates and much later to us. We owe our existence in a very real sense to that ancient cataclysm. We are the inheritors of a world cleared by fire and impact. It is a humbling thought, a reminder that our own dominance is as contingent and perhaps as fleeting as theirs was. And the story of the dinosaurs had one more twist. For decades, we pictured them as scaly green or gray lizards. But in the 1990s, in the fossil beds of Liaoning, China, paleontologists began to find exquisitely preserved fossils of dinosaurs covered in something unexpected: feathers. Fossils of creatures like Sinosauropteryx and later relatives of Velociraptor clearly showed impressions of downy fluff, simple filaments, and even complex bird-like feathers. At first, it was thought these were just strange exceptions, but soon feathered dinosaurs became the norm. This discovery revolutionized our image of these creatures. They were not just lumbering reptiles. They were active, dynamic animals, and many of them looked much more like birds. The discovery also provided the final conclusive link in a chain of evidence that had been building for decades. Birds are not just related to dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs. They are a living lineage of theropod dinosaurs that survived the great extinction and continued to evolve. Every pigeon on a city street, every sparrow in a garden is a tiny, living dinosaur. This discovery dissolved the boundary we had drawn between the lost world of the Mesozoic and the world we live in today. The dinosaurs never completely vanished. They just learned to fly, and their echoes are still with us in the chirps and songs that fill our morning skies, a quiet, feathered reminder of a time when giants ruled the earth. Our journey has taken us from the dawn of humanity to the age of dinosaurs, from the center of the universe to the restless floor of the ocean. We have looked outward and backward, uncovering the grand narratives of planets and continents. But now, our exploration turns inward to the most complex, mysterious, and intimate frontier of all the universe within our own minds. For most of history, the nature of thought, memory, and consciousness was the domain of philosophers and poets. The brain was a black box, its inner workings as hidden as the dark side of the moon. But in the last few centuries, a series of quiet discoveries began to pry open that box, revealing that our inner world, our sense of self, our every feeling and perception, arises from the intricate electrochemical dance of billions of tiny cells. This was the discovery of the brain as the engine of the mind, a realization that has reshaped our understanding of who we are, what it means to be alive, and the very nature of reality itself. The journey began with the first glimpse of the brain's building blocks. In the late 19th century, a Spanish scientist named Santiago Ramón y Cajal, working with a new staining technique that made individual brain cells visible under a microscope, made a revolutionary discovery. He saw that the brain was not a continuous, tangled web of tissue, as was commonly believed, but was made of countless discrete individual cells, which he called neurons. He He meticulously drew what he saw intricate branching structures that looked like tiny trees. And he proposed what came to be known as the neuron doctrine, that these individual cells were the fundamental units of the nervous system, and that they communicated with each other across tiny gaps, which were later named synapses. Cahill's work was the foundation of modern neuroscience. It transformed the brain from an undifferentiated mass into an intricate network of individual communicators. It was like discovering the alphabet of the mind. Every thought, every memory, every sensation he realized must be carried in the signals that pass between these beautiful branching cells. He had revealed the biological machinery of thought. Once we knew the brain was a network, the next question was, how do its different parts work? The idea that specific mental functions might be localized to specific brain regions was controversial. But evidence began to accumulate from the study of brain injuries. In the 19th century, a French physician named Paul Broca treated a patient who could understand language perfectly, but could only utter a single word, tan. After the patient's death, Broca examined his brain and found damage in a specific area of the left frontal lobe. This region, now known as Broca's area, he concluded must be responsible for the production of speech. A few years later, a German neurologist, Karl Wernicke, described patients with damage to a different area in the left temporal lobe who could speak fluently but whose speech was nonsensical and who could not understand language. This region became known as Wernicke's area. These discoveries were monumental. They were the first strong evidence that complex cognitive functions, like language, were not properties of the brain as a whole, but were localized to specific circuits. It was the beginning of the mapping of the mind, the first steps in creating a geography of human consciousness. The map grew more detailed with the astonishing work of neurosurgeons like Wilder Penfield in the mid-20th century. While performing surgery on epileptic patients, Penfield would electrically stimulate different parts of the brain's surface. The patients were awake, as the brain itself has no pain receptors. What he found was extraordinary. Stimulating a point in the motor cortex would cause a patient's hand to twitch. Stimulating the auditory cortex would make them hear a buzzing sound. And most remarkably, stimulating parts of the temporal lobe could evoke vivid, detailed memories, a song from childhood, the smell of a family kitchen, a scene from a long-forgotten day. It was as if he had found a way to play the brain like an instrument, calling forth fragments of conscious experience with the touch of an electrode. Penfield's work provided some of the most compelling evidence that our memories and perceptions are physically stored in the brain, encoded in specific neural pathways. He had found the engrams, the physical traces of our past, and shown that they could be brought back to life with a tiny jolt of electricity. But what about the self? Our sense of identity, personality, and moral judgment. Surely that was something deeper, more ethereal than a mere brain circuit. The case of Phineas Gage suggested otherwise. In 1848, Gage was a railroad foreman who survived a horrific accident in which an iron tamping rod was blasted through his head, destroying much of his brain's left frontal lobe. Miraculously, he survived. He could walk, talk, and remember, but he was no longer Gage. Before the accident, he had been known as a responsible, well-liked, and capable man. After, he was impulsive, profane, and unreliable. His friends said he was no longer Gage. His case was the first to suggest that our personality, our very character, is not a property of some immaterial soul, but is deeply rooted in the physical structure of the brain, specifically the frontal lobes. The discovery that personality could be so profoundly altered by a physical injury was a sobering one. It rewrote our understanding of the self, suggesting that who we are is inextricably tied to the health and integrity of the 3-pound organ inside our skull. And what of the connection between the mind and the body? For centuries, philosophers had debated the mind-body problem. Were they separate entities or two sides of the same coin? The discovery of neurotransmitters provided a bridge. In the early 20th century, scientists like Otto Loewi discovered that neurons communicate across synapses, not through direct electrical contact, but by releasing chemicals. These chemicals, neurotransmitters like dopamine, serotonin, and adrenaline, carry signals from one cell to the next. The discovery was revolutionary. It showed that our mental and emotional states have a direct chemical basis. A feeling of happiness is linked to a surge of serotonin. A sense of reward is driven by dopamine. Fear is mediated by adrenaline. This understanding opened the door to modern psychiatry and pharmacology. We learned that we could treat mental illnesses like depression and anxiety by developing drugs that could alter the balance of these chemicals in the brain. The discovery of neurotransmitters dissolved the old distinction between the mind and the body. It showed that our thoughts and feelings are not abstract spirits, but are part of a rich, complex, and beautiful chemical symphony. Our consciousness is not just electrical, it is chemical, a delicate, ever-shifting balance of molecules that gives rise to the entire spectrum of human experience. These discoveries taken together represent one of the greatest shifts in human self-understanding. They have taught us that we are biological beings and that the rich tapestry of our inner lives is woven on the loom of the brain. It is a humbling and awe-inspiring realization. It does not diminish the wonder of consciousness, but deepens it, showing us that the universe's capacity for complexity and beauty is not only found in the stars and galaxies, but is also folded into the quiet, intricate cosmos within each of us. As we learn to map the inner cosmos of the brain, a parallel revolution was unfolding in our understanding of the outer cosmos, a revolution that would challenge our most fundamental intuitions about reality itself. For centuries, the universe of Isaac Newton had reigned supreme. It was a universe of absolute space and absolute time, a grand, predictable clockwork mechanism governed by simple, elegant laws. Space was a fixed stage, and time was a universal river flowing at the same rate for everyone everywhere. But in the early years of the 20th century, a young patent clerk in Switzerland named Albert Einstein began to ask simple, almost childlike questions that would shatter this comfortable worldview. His thoughts would lead us into a new reality, a strange and beautiful universe where space and time are not absolute, but flexible and intertwined, where matter and energy are two faces of the same coin, and where gravity is not a force, but the very curvature of existence. The journey began with the puzzle of light. By the end of the 19th century, physicists had established that light was an electromagnetic wave, and they had measured its speed with incredible precision. But there was a problem. According to the physics of the time, the speed of light should depend on the motion of the observer. Just as a ball thrown from a moving train seems faster to a stationary observer, the speed of light from a moving source should also seem to change, but experiments showed it didn't. The speed of light in a vacuum was always the same, no matter how fast you were moving when you measured it. This was a deep and troubling paradox. In 1905, in what is now known as his miracle year, Einstein proposed a solution, his special theory of relativity. He started with a bold, simple postulate: the speed of light is constant for all observers. From this single idea, a cascade of astonishing consequences followed. If the speed of light is absolute, then space and time cannot be. Einstein realized that for the speed of light to remain constant, space must contract and time must slow down for a moving observer. This phenomenon, called time dilation, means that a clock on a fast-moving spaceship would tick more slowly than a clock on Earth. This wasn't a mechanical trick, it was a fundamental property of time itself. The faster you move through space, the slower you move through time. He also showed that mass and energy are equivalent to different aspects of the same underlying substance. This was expressed in the most famous equation in all of science, EX-mc2. This equation revealed that a tiny amount of mass could be converted into a tremendous amount of energy, a discovery that would later unlock the power of the atom. Special relativity rewrote our understanding of space-time and matter, showing them to be a far stranger and more interconnected reality than we had ever imagined. The universe was not a fixed stage. It was a dynamic, malleable fabric. But Einstein wasn't finished. Special relativity dealt with constant motion, but it didn't include gravity. For the next 10 years, Einstein wrestled with the problem of how to incorporate gravity into his new picture of the universe. His breakthrough came with what he called the happiest thought of my life. He imagined a person in free fall. That person would not feel their own weight. They would be weightless, just like an astronaut in orbit. From this, he realized that gravity and acceleration are indistinguishable. This was the principle of equivalence, and it was the key to his general theory of relativity, published in 1915. In this theory, gravity is not a force that pulls objects toward each other, as Newton had described. Instead, gravity is the curvature of space-time itself. Massive objects like the sun do not pull the Earth. They warp the fabric of space-time around them, and the Earth follows that curve like a marble rolling around a dip in a rubber sheet. Space-time tells matter how to move. The physicist John Wheeler would later say, and matter tells space-time how to curve. This was a mind-bending idea, but it made predictions that could be tested. One of the most famous was that the light from a distant star should be bent as it passes by the massive sun. During a solar eclipse in 1919, an expedition led by the astronomer Arthur Eddington photographed the stars near the sun. Their positions had shifted just as Einstein's theory predicted. The discovery made Einstein a global celebrity overnight. General relativity had passed its first great test. It went on to predict other strange phenomena, such as gravitational time dilation. Time runs slower in a stronger gravitational field, and the existence of black holes, regions of space-time so warped that not even light can escape. For decades, many of these ideas seemed like mathematical fantasies, but one by one, they have been confirmed by observation. GPS satellites must account for the effects of both special and general relativity to function accurately. We have taken pictures of the shadows of black holes. And we have even detected the faint ripples in space-time, the gravitational waves created by their collisions. Einstein's theories, born from quiet thought experiments, had revealed the true, strange geometry of our cosmos. But even as relativity was reshaping our understanding of the very large, another revolution was happening in the world of the very small. This was the birth of quantum mechanics. As physicists began to explore the world of atoms and their constituent particles, they found a reality that was even stranger than Einstein's. It was a world of probabilities and uncertainties where particles could be in multiple places at once, where observing something changed its very nature, and where distant particles could be mysteriously linked in what Einstein called spooky action at a distance. Quantum mechanics described a universe that was not a smooth, predictable clockwork, but a fuzzy, shimmering dance of possibilities. It was a world where a particle was also a wave, where energy came in discrete packets, or quanta, and where the act of measurement seemed to collapse a world of potential into a single, concrete reality. The discovery of this quantum realm was a collective effort, a story of many brilliant minds. Max Planck, Niels Bohr, Werner Heisenberg, Erwin Schrödinger, and others. It was a deeply unsettling theory, even to its creators. Anyone who is not shocked by quantum theory has not understood it, Niels Bohr said. Einstein himself was deeply troubled by its probabilistic nature. God does not play dice, he famously declared. Yet quantum mechanics has become the most successful scientific theory in history. It is the foundation of our understanding of everything from the behavior of atoms and the chemistry of life to the functioning of lasers and computers. The discovery of the quantum world rewrote our understanding of matter, energy, and causality. It showed that at the most fundamental level, the universe is not a deterministic machine, but a place of inherent randomness and potential. It revealed that the solid world we perceive is an illusion emerging from a seething, uncertain foam of quantum fields. Together, relativity and quantum mechanics represent the twin pillars of modern physics. They have given us a new history of the universe, a history written in the language of bent spacetime and probability waves. They have taken us far from the comforting, intuitive world of our everyday experience into a cosmos that is more mysterious, more beautiful, and far stranger than we could have ever dreamed. And they remind us that the deepest truths about reality are often found in the places where our common sense breaks down, and all we have left is wonder. With the new languages of relativity and quantum mechanics, we learn to see the universe in a new light. But the greatest surprise was yet to come. For all of history, the universe itself, the grand collection of stars and galaxies, was assumed to be eternal and unchanging. It was the static, majestic backdrop against which the dramas of planets and people played out. But in the 1920s, a series of discoveries made with the world's largest telescopes revealed a truth that was both astonishing and deeply humbling. The universe is not static. It is in motion. And its story is not one of eternal stillness, but of a singular, explosive beginning and a long, expansive journey that continues to this day. This was the discovery of the expanding universe and the theory of the Big Bang, a revelation that gave the cosmos itself a history, a birth date, and a story of epic transformation. The story begins at the Mount Wilson Observatory in California, where an astronomer named Edwin Hubble was using the most powerful telescope of his time to study the faint fuzzy patches of light known as spiral nebulae. At the time, most astronomers believed these were clouds of gas within our own Milky Way galaxy. But Hubble was able to identify a special type of pulsating star, a Cepheid variable in the Andromeda Nebula. By measuring its brightness, he could calculate its distance. The answer was staggering. Andromeda was nearly 1 million light-years away, far beyond the confines of the Milky Way. It was not a nebula. It was an entire galaxy, an island universe in its own right, just like ours. In a single stroke, Hubble had expanded the known universe by an unimaginable degree. The Milky Way was not the entire cosmos. It was just one of countless galaxies scattered through the vastness of space. But Hubble's greatest discovery was yet to come. As he measured the distances to more and more galaxies, he also measured their light, and he noticed something strange. The light from nearly every galaxy was red-shifted. Just as the sound of a receding siren drops in pitch, the light from a receding object is stretched to longer, redder wavelengths. The redshift of the galaxies meant they were all moving away from us. And more remarkably, he found a clear relationship. The farther away a galaxy was, the faster it was receding. This became known as Hubble's law. The conclusion was inescapable. The universe was not static. It was expanding. Every galaxy was rushing away from every other galaxy like dots on the surface of an expanding balloon. This was one of the most profound discoveries in the history of science. It meant the universe had a dynamic history. If the universe is expanding now, then in the past, it must have been smaller, denser, and hotter. A Belgian priest and physicist named Georges Lemaitre was one of the first to take this idea to its logical conclusion. He reasoned that if you run the cosmic clock backward, everything in the universe would eventually converge into a single infinitesimally small and infinitely dense point. He called this the primeval atom, or the cosmic egg. This was the seed of what would later be called the Big Bang Theory. Lemaitre's idea, first proposed in the late 1920s, was that the entire universe had begun with the explosion of this primeval atom, and that the expansion we see today is the ongoing aftermath of that initial event. At the time, the idea was so radical that even Einstein was skeptical. But the evidence continued to build. The Big Bang Theory made a specific prediction. If the early universe was an incredibly hot, dense fireball, then it should have left behind a faint afterglow, a residual heat that would permeate all of space. As the universe expanded, this radiation would have cooled and stretched. And today, it should be detectable as microwave radiation. In 1965, two radio astronomers at Bell Labs Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson accidentally discovered this afterglow. They were trying to use a large radio antenna for satellite communication, but they were plagued by a persistent low-level hiss, a background noise that they couldn't eliminate no matter where they pointed their antenna. After ruling out every possible source of interference, including pigeons nesting in their equipment, they realized they had stumbled upon the faint ancient light of the Big Bang itself. This was the cosmic microwave background radiation. Its discovery was a stunning confirmation of the Big Bang Theory. It was like finding the fossilized echo of creation. It transformed the Big Bang from a speculative hypothesis into the cornerstone of modern cosmology. The story of the cosmos was now a story of transformation. The Big Bang was not an explosion in space, but the beginning of space and time. In the first fraction of a second, the universe was a seething soup of fundamental particles and energy. As it expanded and cooled, the forces of nature separated protons and neutrons formed, and then after a few minutes, the first atomic nuclei were forged. For the next 300 to 1,000 years, the universe was an opaque glowing fog of plasma. Then it cooled enough for electrons to combine with nuclei to form the first atoms. At that moment, the universe became transparent, and the light that was released is the cosmic microwave background we see today. For hundreds of millions of years after that, the universe was dark. Then gravity began to pull the primordial gas into vast clouds, and the first stars ignited, ending the cosmic dark ages. Those first stars lived and died, forging heavier elements in their cores. They gathered into the first galaxies. And over billions of years, those galaxies merged and grew into the vast cosmic web we see today. The discovery of this grand cosmic narrative of an expanding universe, born from a hot, dense state, is our modern creation myth. But it is one written in the language of mathematics and tested against observation. It gave the universe a beginning and a history. It placed our own existence within a vast unfolding story that stretches back 13.8 billion years. But this story came with its own new mysteries. What caused the Big Bang? What came before it? And what is the ultimate fate of this expanding cosmos? The discovery of the universe's motion did not provide all the answers. Instead, it opened up a new landscape of questions. Questions that continue to drive our exploration of the cosmos. It taught us that we live in a universe that is not just a place, but a story of becoming. And we are a part of that story, born from the ashes of ancient stars living on a small planet in a single galaxy, all carried along on the gentle, relentless tide of cosmic expansion. As we learn to read the history of the cosmos in the light of distant galaxies, a new technology allowed us to read a different kind of history, one written in a language far more ancient and intimate, the language of our own DNA. For over a century, the story of human evolution had been pieced together from a sparse collection of fossil bones. From these silent stones, we had sketched a family tree, a simple line of descent leading from ape-like ancestors to us, Homo sapiens. On this tree, other human species, like the Neanderthals, were seen as evolutionary dead ends, failed branches that had been outcompeted and replaced by our more intelligent and adaptable ancestors. But the discovery of ancient DNA, the ability to extract and read the genetic code from the remains of beings who lived tens of thousands of years ago, has revealed a story that is far more complex, more intertwined, and more beautiful. It is a story not of replacement, but of mingling. A story that shows our family tree is not a straight line, but a braided river, and that the echoes of our lost relatives are still alive within us. The journey began with a creature that has long haunted our imagination, the Neanderthal. For decades, they were the archetypal cavemen, brutish, dim-witted, and primitive. This image was built from their robust, heavy bones. But as we found more evidence, a different picture emerged. Neanderthals were skilled toolmakers, successful hunters of big game, and they lived in harsh Ice Age environments for hundreds of thousands of years. They may have had language, cared for their sick and elderly, and even buried their dead with symbolic objects. They were not failures. They were a successful and resilient form of human. But the ultimate question remained: what was their relationship to us? Did we simply wipe them out when our ancestors migrated out of Africa into their European and Asian homelands? Or was there something more? The answer came from the quiet, painstaking work of geneticists like Svante Pääbo in the 1980s. He and his team began a project that seemed like science fiction to sequence the Neanderthal genome. They extracted tiny, fragmented strands of DNA from the dust of ancient bones, carefully piecing them together like a vast microscopic puzzle. It was a monumental task fraught with contamination and decay. But by 2010, they had a draft of the Neanderthal genome. And when they compared it to the genomes of modern humans, they found something that rewrote our history. People of non-African descent today carry between 1% and 4% Neanderthal DNA. The conclusion was undeniable. Our ancestors had not just replaced the Neanderthals, they had met them and they had had children together. This was not a story of war and extinction, but also a story of love and family. We are their descendants in a small but real way. The genetic legacy of the Neanderthals lives on in our immune systems, in our skin, and in our metabolism. A quiet ancient inheritance from a time when our two human families became one. But the story of ancient DNA had another even more surprising twist. In a cave in the Altai Mountains of Siberia called Denisova Cave, archaeologists found a single, tiny fragment of a finger bone from a young girl who lived around 40,000 years ago. It was too small to identify the species from its shape alone, but Svante Pääbo's team was able to extract DNA from it. And what they found was astonishing. The DNA was not from a modern human, nor was it from a Neanderthal. It belonged to a completely new, previously unknown group of archaic humans. They were named the Denisovans. This was a revolutionary discovery. It was the first time a new human species had been identified, not from a full skeleton, but from a tiny piece of bone and its genetic code. It showed that the world of the late Pleistocene was even more crowded than we had thought. There were at least 3 distinct human groups: modern humans, Neanderthals, and Denisovans living and interacting across Eurasia. And just as with the Neanderthals, the genetic story revealed a history of mingling. The Denisovans had also interbred with the ancestors of modern humans. Today, their genetic legacy is found most strongly in populations in Melanesia, Australia, and the Philippines, where people can carry up to 6% Denisovan DNA. This suggests that the Denisovans were widespread across Asia, and that our ancestors encountered them as they migrated through the continent. The discovery of the Denisovans was like finding a new character in a story we thought we knew. A ghost species brought to light by the power of genetics. They left behind almost no fossils, just a finger bone, a few teeth, and a jawbone found in Tibet. But they left their echo in the DNA of millions of people alive today. These genetic discoveries have completely transformed our picture of the human past. The old linear model of evolution has been replaced by a far more complex and interesting one. The story of humanity is not a simple march of progress, but a messy, reticulated web of populations moving, meeting, and mixing. It was a world where the lines between us and them were far more blurry. These encounters were not just isolated events. The genes we inherited from Neanderthals and Denisovans were not just random baggage. They may have helped our ancestors survive. For example, some genes from these archaic humans are related to the immune system, and they may have provided our ancestors with ready-made defenses against local pathogens as they moved into new environments. A Denisovan gene found in modern Tibetans helps them survive at high altitudes. It was a story of adaptation through admixture of our species becoming stronger and more resilient by embracing the genetic heritage of our relatives. The discovery of our ancient hidden relatives is a lesson in humility. It reminds us that we were not always alone, and that our success as a species is not entirely our own. We are a hybrid species, a mosaic of different human lineages. The discovery of ancient DNA has given us a new way to know our deepest history. It has allowed us to hear the whispers of our lost cousins, not in their voices, but in the quiet, elegant language of the genetic code. It is a story that connects us not only to our Homo sapiens ancestors, but to the wider family of humanity, a family that was once more diverse, and whose legacy is still written softly and indelibly in our very cells. And as we rest in this knowledge, we can feel a deeper connection to the long, meandering river of our own, becoming a river fed by many streams, a river that flows through us and continues on. As our understanding of the human story deepened, revealing a past far more interconnected than we ever knew. Our gaze once again turned to the stars, but this time with a new and profound question. For millennia, the stars were just points of light, and our solar system seemed to be a unique and special creation. We wondered, are we alone? But the question was purely philosophical. There was no way to answer it. The stars were too far away, and any planets orbiting them would be far too small and dim to see. But in the final years of the 20th century, a series of quiet, painstaking discoveries began to change everything. Using ingenious techniques and incredibly sensitive instruments, astronomers began to find the first faint whispers of other worlds. This was the discovery of planets orbiting other stars. It was a discovery that has transformed the search for life from a dream into a science, and has shown us that our solar system is not a lonely miracle, but just one of countless planetary families in a galaxy teeming with worlds. The challenge of finding an exoplanet is immense. It's like trying to spot a firefly next to a brilliant searchlight from hundreds of miles away. Direct imaging is almost impossible. So, astronomers had to invent indirect methods. One of the most successful is the radial velocity method, or the wobble method. As a planet orbits a star, its gravity gently tugs on the star, causing the star to wobble slightly. This wobble is tiny, but it can be detected by looking for a subtle shift in the star's light. As the star moves toward us, its light is compressed to slightly bluer wavelengths, and as it moves away, its light is stretched to slightly redder wavelengths. This is the Doppler effect. For years, astronomers searched for this telltale wobble, but the signals were too small to be measured with the technology of the time. Then, in 1995, two Swiss astronomers, Michel Mayor and Didier Queloz, announced a historic discovery. They had been observing a sun-like star called 51 Pegasi, and they had found a clear, periodic wobble. It indicated the presence of a planet. But this was no ordinary planet. It was a gas giant, about half the mass of Jupiter, but it was orbiting its star in just 4 days. It was incredibly close to its star, far closer than Mercury is to our Sun. This was a hot Jupiter, a type of planet that no one thought could exist. The discovery was met with excitement and skepticism, but it was soon confirmed. The era of exoplanet discovery had begun. The discovery of 51 Pegasi b was revolutionary, not just because it was the first, but because it was so strange. It showed that other solar systems could be wildly different from our own, and that our theories of planet formation were incomplete. Another powerful method for finding exoplanets is the transit method. If a planet's orbit is aligned just right, it will periodically pass in front of its star, from our point of view, causing a tiny temporary dip in the star's brightness. This is a planetary transit. The dip in light is incredibly small, often less than 1%, but with sensitive telescopes it can be measured. This method was put to use on a massive scale by NASA's Kepler Space Telescope, which launched in 2009. Kepler was a planet hunting machine. It stared at a single patch of sky containing over 150,000 stars, patiently monitoring their brightness for years, looking for those telltale dips. The mission was a spectacular success. Kepler discovered thousands of exoplanet candidates, transforming our understanding of planetary statistics. It showed us that planets are not rare, they are common. In fact, it seems that most stars in our galaxy have at least one planet. The discoveries have revealed a stunning diversity of worlds. There are hot Jupiters locked in fiery orbits. There are super-Earth's rocky planets larger than our own. There are mini Neptunes and gas giants in distant eccentric orbits. There are even rogue planets drifting alone through interstellar space without a star. We have found planets orbiting 2 stars at once, like the fictional planet Tatooine from Star Wars. We have found planets made of diamond and planets where it might rain glass. The zoo of exoplanets is far more wild and varied than we ever imagined. Each new discovery is a reminder that nature's imagination is far greater than our own. Perhaps the most exciting part of this new field is the search for planets like our own small rocky worlds orbiting in the habitable zone, the region around a star where temperatures are just right for liquid water to exist on a planet's surface. Kepler and other missions have found many such candidates. We have found planets orbiting the nearest star to our Sun, Proxima Centauri. We have found a system of 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting a small, cool star called TRAPPIST-1, 3 of which are in the habitable zone. These discoveries do not mean we have found life, but they mean we have found places where life as we know it could exist. We have found the right kinds of stages for the drama of life to unfold. And now, with new telescopes like the James Webb Space Telescope, we are moving beyond just finding planets to studying them. By analyzing the starlight that passes through a planet's atmosphere during a transit, we can look for the chemical fingerprints of different gases: water, methane, oxygen. These are potential biosignatures, signs of life. The search is painstaking, and the signals are incredibly faint. But for the first time in human history, we have the tools to look for signs of life on worlds beyond our own. The discovery of exoplanets has transformed a philosophical question into an observational one. Are we alone is no longer a question for priests and poets alone. It is a question for astronomers, a question that we might within our lifetimes begin to answer. The discovery of these distant worlds has given us a new sense of perspective. It has shown us that our Earth is just one world among billions, perhaps trillions, in our galaxy. It is a quiet, humbling revelation. The night sky is not just a collection of distant suns. It is a forest of solar systems, a landscape filled with hidden worlds waiting to be discovered. And as you drift towards sleep, you can imagine these worlds spinning in the darkness, some fiery, some frozen, and some perhaps just right, bathed in the gentle light of their star, with oceans and clouds and the quiet, patient possibility of life. Our journey has shown us a universe that is constantly rewriting its own story, a cosmos of hidden worlds and ancient human relatives. But our discoveries have always been based on one thing: light. For all of history, astronomy was a science of sight. We looked at the visible light of stars, the radio waves from distant galaxies, the X-rays from black holes. We studied the universe by seeing it. But what if there was another way to experience the cosmos? What if we could not just see the universe, but feel it? What if we could sense the very vibrations of space-time itself? A century ago, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicted that this was possible, that massive cosmic events should create ripples in the fabric of reality called gravitational waves. For decades, this was just a theory. But in 2015, in one of the most brilliant scientific achievements of our time, we finally detected one of these waves. We had learned to listen to the universe, and in doing so, we opened a new silent window onto the most violent and mysterious events in the cosmos. Gravitational waves are disturbances in the curriculum of space-time generated by accelerated masses. Imagine dropping a stone into a still pond. The ripples spread out across the surface. In the same way, when massive objects like black holes or neutron stars orbit each other and collide, they create ripples in space-time that spread out across the universe at the speed of light. These waves are not like light or sound, which travel through space. They are vibrations of space itself. As a gravitational wave passes by, it gently stretches and squeezes the space it moves through. The effect is incredibly, almost impossibly small. By the time a wave from a distant galaxy reaches Earth, it might stretch a 4-kilometer-long object by an amount less than 1/10,000th the width of a proton. Detecting such a tiny disturbance was one of the greatest challenges in the history of experimental physics. The instrument that finally achieved this feat is called LIGO, the Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. It consists of 2 identical detectors, one in Louisiana and one in Washington State. Each detector is an L-shaped instrument with 2 4-kilometer-long arms. A laser beam is split and sent down each arm, where it bounces off mirrors at the ends and returns to the center to be recombined. In the absence of a gravitational wave, the 2 arms are of equal length and the returning light waves cancel each other out. But if a gravitational wave passes through, it will stretch one arm and squeeze the other, changing their lengths by that infinitesimal amount. The returning light waves will no longer cancel perfectly, creating a tiny flicker of light. This is the signal. It is a whisper from the cosmos, a vibration so faint it had to be isolated from every possible source of noise on Earth, from passing trucks and distant earthquakes to the crashing of ocean waves. On September 14, 2015, after decades of work, LIGO detected its first signal. It was a chirp, a wave that quickly rose in frequency and amplitude, the telltale signature of two massive objects spiraling into each other. By analyzing the shape of the wave, scientists could tell an incredible story. It was the story of two black holes, one about 29 times the mass of the Sun, and the other about 36 times the mass of the Sun, that had been orbiting each other for eons. In the final fraction of a second, they spiraled together at nearly the speed of light and merged to form a single, larger black hole. The collision was an event of unimaginable violence. In that moment, it converted an amount of mass equivalent to 3 suns into pure gravitational energy, radiating it away as gravitational waves. For a brief instant, the collision was more powerful than all the light from all the stars in the observable universe combined. But it was a completely dark and silent event, a storm in space-time that could only be heard by LIGO. The signal had traveled for 1.3 billion years to reach Earth. When it arrived, it shook the mirrors at LIGO by a fraction of the width of an atomic nucleus, and we felt it. The discovery was a triumph. It was the first direct detection of gravitational waves, a confirmation of a key prediction of Einstein's theory a century after he made it. It was the first direct evidence that black holes are real and that they can merge. And most importantly, it was the birth of a new kind of astronomy, gravitational wave astronomy. We had opened a new sense with which to perceive the universe, where light-based astronomy is like seeing gravitational wave astronomy, is like hearing, or perhaps more accurately, like feeling. It allows us to sense the motions of dark and hidden objects, to probe the hearts of supernova explosions, and perhaps one day, to listen to the echoes of the Big Bang itself. Since that first detection, LIGO and its partner observatory, Virgo in Italy, have detected dozens more events. We have heard the collisions of more black holes. We have even heard the death spiral of 2 neutron stars, the incredibly dense remnants of dead stars. That event, detected in 2017, was even more remarkable. Because unlike the merger of 2 black holes, the collision of 2 neutron stars also creates a massive explosion of light, a kilonova. The gravitational wave signal arrived first, telling astronomers where to point their telescopes. And for the first time, we were able to see and hear the same cosmic event. The observations confirmed that these collisions are the source of most of the heavy elements in the universe, like gold and platinum. The gold in a wedding ring was forged not in the core of a star, but in the cataclysmic merger of 2 dead ones, an event that sent ripples through both space-time and the electromagnetic spectrum. The discovery of gravitational waves has given us a new, more complete picture of the cosmos. It is a universe not just of light and color, but of vibration and rhythm. It is a universe where we can listen to the silent song of gravity, a song of creation and destruction, a song that has been playing for billions of years, but that we have only just learned to hear. And as you rest, you can imagine these faint ripples always passing through you, through the earth, through everything's silent messengers, from the most extreme and beautiful events in the history of space-time. Our journey through the history of discovery has taken us to some strange and wondrous places, from the hidden cities of our ancestors to the violent mergers of black holes. We have learned to see the invisible world of germs and to hear the silent vibrations of space-time. But our final discoveries take us to a level of mystery that is even more profound. They reveal that everything we have ever seen, everything we have ever studied, every star, every galaxy, every planet, every atom, is just a tiny fraction of what truly exists. In the last few decades, we have come to the startling realization that the universe is dominated by two mysterious, invisible substances that we do not understand at all. We call them dark matter and dark energy. They are the hidden scaffolding and the unseen engine of the cosmos. Their discovery has shown us that the universe we see is just the glowing foam on the surface of a vast, dark ocean. This is the story of how we discovered the invisible universe and the quiet, humbling realization that we are strangers in a cosmos, far stranger than we ever knew. The first clue to this hidden reality came from watching galaxies spin. In the 1970s, an astronomer named Vera Rubin was studying the rotation of spiral galaxies. According to our understanding of gravity, the stars at the outer edges of a galaxy should be moving much more slowly than the stars near the center, just as the outer planets in our solar system orbit more slowly than the inner ones. But that's not what Rubin found. She discovered that the stars at the edges of galaxies were moving just as fast as the stars closer in. The galaxies were spinning too fast. The visible matter, the stars' gas and dust, was not nearly enough to provide the gravitational glue to hold them together. They should be flying apart. The only way to explain this was if the galaxies were embedded in a vast invisible halo of some other kind of matter, a matter that did not emit or reflect light, but that had gravity. This was the first strong evidence for what came to be known as dark matter. The evidence has since become overwhelming. We see the effects of dark matter everywhere. We see it in the motions of galaxies within clusters. We see it in the way the light from distant objects is bent and distorted as it passes through space, a phenomenon called gravitational lensing. We even see its imprint in the faint afterglow of the Big Bang, the cosmic microwave background. All of these observations point to the same conclusion: about 85% of the matter in the universe is dark matter. We do not know what it is. It is not just ordinary matter that is dark. It is something entirely new, a particle or particles not described by our current standard model of particle physics. Scientists are searching for it in deep underground laboratories, trying to catch the rare faint signal of a dark matter particle bumping into an atom of ordinary matter. But so far, we have found nothing. Dark matter remains one of the greatest mysteries in science. It is the invisible architecture of the cosmos, the silent, unseen framework upon which the visible universe is built. It is all around us, passing through us, holding our galaxy together, and yet we cannot see it or touch it. It is the quiet, gravitational ghost in the machine of the universe. And if the mystery of dark matter wasn't enough, the universe had another even bigger surprise in store. For most of the 20th century, cosmologists debated the ultimate fate of the universe. Would the expansion started by the Big Bang continue forever? Or would the mutual gravitational attraction of all the matter in the universe eventually slow the expansion down, stop it, and reverse it, leading to a big crunch? Everyone assumed the expansion must be slowing down. In the late 1990s, two independent teams of astronomers set out to measure this deceleration. They used a special type of supernova as standard candles to measure the distances to very distant galaxies and thus map the history of cosmic expansion. But when they got their results, they were stunned. The expansion was not slowing down. It was speeding up. This was a discovery that rocked the foundations of cosmology. It meant that there was some kind of mysterious repulsive force, a sort of anti-gravity that was pushing the universe apart. This unknown energy was given a name, dark energy, and the amount of it required to explain the accelerating expansion was enormous. It turns out that dark energy makes up about 70% of the total energy density of the universe. Dark matter makes up about 25%, and all the ordinary matter, everything we have ever seen, makes up less than 5%. We live in a universe that is dominated by substances we do not understand. We have built our cathedrals and written our poems on a tiny sliver of reality floating in a vast dark sea of the unknown. What is dark energy? We have no idea. The leading hypothesis is that it is a property of space itself, a cosmological constant, as Einstein once proposed and then abandoned. It may be the energy of the vacuum, the energy inherent in empty space. But our best calculations of what this energy should be are wildly comically wrong off by a factor of 10 to the power of 120. It is the worst prediction in the history of physics. Other ideas are even more exotic. Perhaps it is a new kind of dynamic field, which has been given the name quintessence. Perhaps it is a sign that Einstein's theory of gravity is incomplete and needs to be modified on cosmic scales. For now, dark energy is simply a name for our ignorance. It is the quiet, relentless push that is shaping the ultimate destiny of our cosmos. The discovery of dark matter and dark energy has given us a new and deeply humble inventory of the universe. It has shown us that the world we perceive is just a small, luminous fraction of a much larger, darker reality. This is our modern Copernican revolution. Just as Copernicus moved the Earth from the center of the solar system, these discoveries have moved ordinary matter from the center of the cosmic story. We are not the main characters. We are a minor subplot. This realization is not a cause for despair, but for a new kind of wonder. It opens up a new continent of mystery for us to explore. The search for the nature of dark matter and dark energy is now the driving force behind much of modern physics and cosmology. It is a quest that takes us to the frontiers of knowledge, to the very edge of what we know about space-time and matter. And as you rest tonight, you can feel yourself a part of this great mystery. You are a small, intricate structure of ordinary matter held together by the gravity of dark matter and gently pushed apart from distant galaxies by the inexorable force of dark energy. You are a part of a universe that is mostly invisible, mostly unknown, and yet, in its dark and silent way, it is deeply, profoundly beautiful. Our long journey through the discoveries that rewrote our history is nearing its end. We have traveled from the first stone tools to the farthest galaxies, from the invisible world of microbes to the silent ripples of space-time. We have seen our story transformed again and again. Our place in the universe shifted from the center to a quiet, beautiful corner. And now, our journey comes full circle, returning to the most intimate territory of all, the code of life itself. In our final chapter, we explore the discoveries that are not just rewriting our past, but are actively shaping our future. This is the story of how we learn to read our own genetic blueprint in its entirety, and how we are now learning to edit it, a power that holds both incredible promise and profound responsibility. These are the discoveries that are happening now. The quiet revolutions unfolding in laboratories around the world, opening up a new frontier, not of exploration, but of creation. The journey to understand our genetic code, which began with Mendel's peas and culminated in the discovery of the double helix, reached its moonshot moment at the end of the 20th century. This was the Human Genome Project, an ambitious international effort to read the entire sequence of the 3 billion chemical letters that make up the human genetic blueprint. When it began, the task seemed almost impossibly vast, but over 13 years using new technologies and a spirit of global collaboration, scientists pieced together the sequence letter by letter. The project was completed in 2003. For the first time, we could read our own instruction book. The discoveries that poured out were both illuminating and humbling. We found that we have only about 20,000 genes, far fewer than anyone expected about the same number as a roundworm. We learned that a huge portion of our DNA does not code for genes at all, and was once dismissed as junk DNA, but is now known to play a crucial role in regulating how our genes are used. We found the genetic echoes of our evolutionary past, including the traces of ancient viruses and the DNA of our Neanderthal cousins. The Human Genome Project did not give us all the answers. In fact, it opened up a vast new landscape of questions, but it gave us the map. It was a foundational discovery that has transformed medicine, enabling us to identify the genetic roots of diseases, develop personalized treatments, and understand our own biology in a way that was never before possible. It was a moment of profound self-knowledge, but reading the code was only the beginning. The next great revolution was in learning how to write it. For decades, genetic engineering was a clumsy and inefficient process. Then, in 2012, a new discovery emerged from a surprising place: the immune systems of bacteria. Scientists, including Emmanuelle Charpentier and Jennifer Doudna, uncovered a system that bacteria use to fight off viruses. It's called CRISPR. It's like a pair of molecular scissors that can be programmed to find a specific sequence of DNA and make a precise cut. The discovery was that this bacterial defense system could be repurposed into a simple, cheap, and astonishingly powerful gene editing tool. With CRISPR, scientists could now edit the genomes of plants, animals, and even human cells with unprecedented ease and precision. They could delete faulty genes, insert new ones, and correct the mutations that cause genetic diseases. The discovery of CRISPR has been compared to the invention of the word processor for the Book of Life. It has unleashed a torrent of new research and possibilities. In medicine, it holds the promise of curing genetic diseases like sickle cell anemia and Huntington's disease. In agriculture, it could be used to create crops that are more nutritious and resistant to climate change. The power of this discovery is immense, and it has come with deep ethical questions, especially around the possibility of editing the human germline, making changes that could be passed down through generations. The discovery of CRISPR has placed in our hands a power that was once the sole domain of evolution. It is a quiet revolution that is happening now in labs around the world, and its consequences will shape the future of our species in ways we are only just beginning to imagine. And as we learn to read and write our own code, we are also learning to understand the most complex and mysterious expression of that code, the human brain. The Brain Initiative, a large-scale research project akin to the Human Genome Project, is now underway with the goal of mapping the activity of every neuron in the human brain. Using new technologies, scientists can watch how vast networks of neurons fire in real time as we think, feel, and perceive. We are beginning to create a wiring diagram of the brain to understand how its 100 billion neurons and 100 trillion connections give rise to the magic of consciousness. This is a frontier as vast and unknown as the deep ocean or outer space. The discoveries being made are revealing the neural basis of everything from memory and decision-making to mental illness. We are learning how to interface the brain with computers, creating possibilities for restoring sight to the blind and movement to the paralyzed. This journey into our own minds is perhaps the most personal and profound of all scientific endeavors. It is the universe's way of trying to understand itself. These unfolding frontiers, genomics, gene editing, and neuroscience, are not just rewriting our history books. They are rewriting what it means to be human. They are giving us an unprecedented level of understanding and control over our own biology. This power comes with a great responsibility, a need for wisdom and foresight. But it also comes with a sense of incredible hope and wonder. The story of scientific discovery is a story of a species that has never stopped asking questions. A species that has looked at the stars and at its own cells and has dared to understand. It is a story of quiet persistence, of slow, patient work that culminates in moments of breathtaking revelation. And so our long and gentle journey comes to its end. We have drifted through the ages from the first spark of human consciousness to the vast unfolding mystery of the cosmos, and back again to the code that animates us. We have seen that history is not a static list of dates and events, but a living, breathing story constantly being rewritten by new discoveries. Each discovery is a new window, a new perspective, a new reason for wonder. The story is not over. The greatest discoveries may still lie ahead, waiting in the quiet of a laboratory, in the dust of an archaeological dig, or in the light of a star that has not yet reached us. The universe is full of secrets, and we have only just begun to listen. And now, there is nothing left to do but rest. Let these stories settle in your mind, not as facts to be memorized, but as gentle reminders of the immense and beautiful mystery you are a part of. Let your breath be slow and easy. Let your body feel heavy and safe. You are a part of this long unfolding story of discovery, a thinking, feeling piece of the cosmos, resting on a small blue planet, drifting through a universe of endless wonder. Sleep well.